So I'm going to choose sorry, reflect on our actions in the public dimension, which states we collectively reflect on and evaluate the power dynamics of all public actions, including their impact on relationship development, leadership capacity, public systems, marginalized communities, and the natural world. So I guess the way I'll start is we're talking about the election, which I'm sure we're all nervous, anxious about. Yeah, I feel like this time of year is always a time of change. There's just a lot going on. We're transitioning into fall, school's starting for those of us that have kids, but also it feels like school to starting, no matter if you have kids or not, is just a process of change. Just everything shifts a little bit. Um, and I really honestly am just so impressed by the collective organization that you all have started so early because I think my tendency for the election is just to try not to think about it. And that's such a poor, that's what leads to paralyzation. That's not a word, but being paralyzed and not being able to act. And that's what leads to making us feel isolated. And that's what leads to, yeah, actions that are impacting our communities that are marginalized. And so I've been reflecting on a lot because I think I've shared with you guys before in this space, but the reason I chose this practice is because in this practice, we reflect and evaluate the power dynamics of all public actions, including their impact on relationship development, leadership capacity, public systems, marginalized communities, and the natural world. And so taking a practice 6 on the fact that I have been paralyzed in inaction, the consequences are high. And the consequences are high not for me personally, not for specifically my family maybe, but the consequences are high for communities at large in our sphere. And it feels like this continued battle between, you know, we're not getting the best, or, a lot of my friends are one issue voters. So because the stance on Gaza has not been a ceasefire, they're not voting for either party. And I think that for me, trying to reflect on the fact that these are systems of power, and by not using our voice, the impacts on marginalized communities is going to be huge. Um, and on the natural world and on public systems and on the way we move forward in our world. And so I guess Shayna and I got to do a one-to-one this week, which was lovely. And we shared a little bit about, I think in general, as people of power, in that we have inherently more power in this system as white people than others, as people who are of an economic standing that maybe isn't impacted by changes to healthcare systems. Or I think we all inherently feel those impacts, but we feel them differently than others. And it takes extra work. I think it takes extra work to make relationships with people that are different than you. It takes extra work to reflect on our actions and realize the harm that we're doing to others, even if it's not intentionally. And the way I see it is, a lot of the people that I've seen that are choosing to vote in a certain way are not putting in the extra work. And so I guess as I reflect on my actions and my actions moving forward, I'm trying to really challenge myself to reflect on what ways am I inherently imposing harm with the power that I have, and how can I rectify that? And I think that really takes a practice 6 of reflecting on the ways in which, even if it's not intentional, I am imposing harm, and the ways in which I'm not using my voice or my power in ways to embrace or uplift other voices. And I think that also in that reflection, a lot of it is just how to make space and listen and not impose, and just listen and believe and know that inherently we have to start listening to people that are different than us. And if they say one thing and we don't agree with it, we just have to listen. So as I move forward in this election, I hope to continue to hear the voices of people that are different than me and people that are in different socioeconomic statuses than me, and put myself in spaces where I'm developing relationships with those people and listening. Because I think it's really easy to say, well, I don't agree with that, or that's not in, what I think. And we need to start the collective we rather than the I.